Senator Daines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you again, Secretary Jewell. Last week in the Energy Committee, I mentioned my concerns about the programmatic review and the pause on coal leasing. It's very troubling for many back home in Montana and for the Crow tribe. And I think we need to be careful to not make producing federal coal completely uneconomical. It's a reality that is dangerously close under the current administration's moratorium on coal leasing, and if not inevitable, if our states and I think our tribes are left out of the process. Last week, hearing, I asked about gathering input from the states and the tribes, and you mentioned 6 listening sessions that the department has had, and that there's a very open process. Several tribal members and others who rely on these coal jobs to provide for their families, for the revenues, for their general fund, expressed strong concern regarding potential administration actions at the listening session that was actually held in Billings, Montana. In fact, most present there expressed concern. Yet, the administration is moving forward with this programmatic review and the coal leasing moratorium. Quite frankly, I think there needs to be something more formal to allow the states and the tribes and other stakeholders a more predictable and impactful seat at the table, like the Royalty Policy Committee, which actually you allowed to lapse in 2014. I think Congresswoman Lummis mentioned that yesterday in a hearing around, and the question was, why did the agency allow the proposed rulemaking initiative to move forward when the Royalty Policy Committee, which was important, it has members from the states, from the tribes, from NGOs, from industry. The committee lapsed in 2014, a very important voice in this process. Why did we go forward with rulemaking initiatives when you allowed that committee to lapse?
Let me say a couple of things, if I may. First, I'll have to look into the committee lapsing, but royalty rates on the federal coal program have not changed in 30 years, so I'm not sure the function of the committee. There are minimum royalty rates set, and then a lot of exceptions that actually reduce the royalty rates. And we have seen a real decline in revenue coming in from the coal program and a decline in production. It's really due to economic factors like the switch to natural gas and like a change in the interest in exports of coal, which I know the Crow tribe was interested in. And the bonuses over the last 10 years were about 87.5 cents per ton, and in 2015, 31.5 cents a ton. So the price is collapsing on coal due to market conditions.
Right. Well, no, I understand the dynamic nature, certainly, of what's going on. I guess it makes it, in my opinion, even more important that why wouldn't we want to have the state's voice, the tribe's voice, industry's voice, NGOs' voices there in a more formal process here as far as their input go, which was a key part of this Royalty Policy Committee, which lapsed in 2014.
Okay, I've just had some more recent information handed to me. The Royalty Policy Committee last met in 2008. Charter was renewed in 2010, but did not meet because of other events, Deepwater Horizon, the Minerals Management Service, which was reorganized and created the Office of Natural Resource Revenue, and it was set up to expire in 2012, was renewed as a potential vehicle for the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative multi-stakeholder group. But the most recent charter expired in 2014, and our Office of Natural Resources Revenue did not feel that it made sense to reestablish it. But we're happy to look into that more for the record. That's as much information as I have right now.
Yeah, well, the concern I hear back home is they want to make sure that the state's voice is heard in that process, that the tribe's voice is heard in that process, that industry's voice is heard in that process, as well as the NGOs.
Yeah.
And I think the stakes are perhaps much higher now than they might have been in the past, and why it's so important that I believe this policy committee needs to be reinstated. And I'm concerned while rulemaking is going forward here without having that important body functioning, given I think the dynamics and the stakes are a lot higher today than they might have been in the past.
Well, just to adjust a little bit, rulemaking is not what's happening. It's a programmatic environmental impact statement which is a review of the overall program. We absolutely will be listening to industry, be listening to tribes, be listening to states, local stakeholders, local communities, people that are impacted this on the ground will be a very robust part of this process, I promise you.
Yeah, and I appreciate Senator Tester's concerns, voiced a little earlier about trying to get this a 3-year date certain in terms of this programmatic review. I've got an amendment that are trying to work to get bipartisan support on that to put, again, deliver some certainty here in what is very much an uncertain process in many regards. I want to pivot over and just talk about the meaningful consultation with Indian tribes. The tribes, the Crow tribe, I don't think believes they've had meaningful consultation. And what does meaningful consultation look like, I guess, to you, Secretary Jewell? Because they're saying they don't feel like they have really had meaningful consultation.
Well, I haven't met with the Crow for probably a year and a half, maybe a bit more, but if they feel the consultation they've had is not meaningful, please have them let us know, and we'll make sure that we're responsive. I would say meaningful consultation isn't necessarily reaching agreement on a position that a tribe necessarily wants, but it is making sure that their position is known and heard, and we have been committed to that throughout this administration.
Yeah, as you know, the unemployment rate today is about 40%. With the loss of these jobs takes the unemployment rate to north of 80%. It's devastating for the tribe.
I understand, and I know you understand too, that the economics of coal are changing dramatically, and what we're looking to do is not the cause of that. There is a multifaceted, global market for coal that is in fact going down dramatically.
I would argue
the
EPA power plant is having a tremendous impact right now on creating uncertainty there as well. I understand the economic dynamics. The EPA power plant is probably the single most devastating having an impact right now on the coal business out there in Montana. Thank you.
Senator Daines, I appreciate